Hello and welcome to another Precast Take 5 video. My name is John Recknagel, Precast Applications Specialist. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the Lifting Inserts tool. Let's jump right into the model. All right, here we are within Tekla Structures. Today, obviously focusing on the Lifting Inserts tool. We have a fresh model here with just a couple different precast sections. We got a couple above grade sections and then a couple utility underground sections just to kind of show you guys how this tool functions and what the features are. So starting off, we'll find this tool within our applications and components, activate it, and then simply select on the first item here. So the first item we just have is a standard box beam, but you'll notice kind of a couple things. What the tool is doing is it's marking each individual lifter, and this will become important later on, which everyone will see, and then it's also showing the axes for this individual part here. So if we double select on the tool, we can open up the interface here for lifting inserts. Now just to kind of walk through everything that we're seeing here, at the very top we have the setup here where you can basically insert in the component name and then any of those attribute files that are associated with that component. So you can choose any of your lifters, dog bones, things like that, pulling irons, everything. You can just kind of load in your specific component that you're wanting to utilize and you're good to go. The next here is the face. So we can actually choose and tell Tekla which face we want this above component to be applied to. So if I were to change this to, let's say, the top face and press modify, you can see that the tool will rotate the lifters accordingly to follow the part face that it should. This can be done obviously on all of the faces there. The next one down here is the COG type. So basically you have two options here, and these are very important. You choose either the entire assembly or the individual part. And where this becomes important is if you have other elements, other concrete elements added on here that may affect the center of gravity, large haunches, large extensions, maybe secondary pores, things of that nature. You can choose whether or not you want to place this component about the entire assembly, considering the entire assembly center of gravity, or individual pieces, individual parts center of gravity. So you have that option fully disposable at your fingertips there. And another nice thing to note about this component is you can put this in multiple times as well. So if you wanted to put it in again, here you have it. Now I have it on my front face and then also on my top face. So you can put this component in as many times as you want and then just cycle between the different COG types that you'd wish. Next is the placement. Some precasters prefer to place based upon percentages away from the center of gravity, as you can see from this nice bitmap image here. Or you can place about a specific distance. So if you wanted to say 2 feet from center of gravity, 1 foot, whatever, you can specify actual distances or percentages, whichever suits your workflow best. The next one here is the center of gravity cube. So if you zoom in really close, you can kind of see this little cube here, and this cube is nice because it gives you a nice reference point as to where exactly is that center of gravity. You can also dimension it on your cast unit drawings and everything like that as well. But if you don't like to see that, as you start to zoom out, you don't see it anyway. But if you really don't like it, you can just set that to no. Next is to switch the X and Y directions. Now, in this type of application, you won't really see a difference, but when we move to kind of like our slab or wall panel, I'll showcase that tool as well. Next, we have a rotate inserts, which is going to actually kind of skew all the inserts towards the center of gravity, and I'll showcase that tool as we move down along as well. Next is the quantity here. So out of the box, you have 1x2, 1x4, 2x2, 2x3, 2x4, and 4x2. So these are, should suit most of the typical precast lifting applications. Keep in mind that you can, like I said earlier, insert this in multiple times if you need to do some kind of weird configuration there. But this should suffice, 80-90% of most common precast lifting applications there. And next we'll talk about the spacing tab here. You have two options. You can either go from the edge of the piece or from the center of gravity. So notice this picture here set up all the dimensions and everything is coming from the center of gravity. If I switch it to edge, now all the dimensions are coming from the edge of the piece. So the user has the availability to cycle between either of those. There's also a way to change the component direction. So really quick, why this is important is depending on how you have your individual custom parts modeled, whether your handles are in the x-axis or kind of in the y-axis, you can choose whether or not you want these lifters to be placed vertical or horizontal. And kind of what that will do is, see, if I set them to horizontal, that will just basically flip my lifters like you see here. So, you know, depending on whichever way your lifters are modeled, our tool can accommodate that for you. And then lastly here, the switch Z direction. This is really intended as a quick way to just kind of flip the Z here, kind of flip your piece around. You also see me use it here on the wall panel second, but if we just select yes and modify, you can see we can get that quick switch over. Now you notice that the painting of the kind of the number of the lifters stays on there. What you could do is you can just redraw the view and those will go away. But let me show you really quick why those are important here. So if we go to the face offsets tab, you can see basically numbers 1 through 8 of all of your lifters. And then it also kind of paints the axes here for you, this individual parts axes, which is extremely helpful for moving these slight offsets in the X, Y, and Z directions here. You also have the availability to turn individual lifters on or off. So if you didn't need this lifter 2 here, you could just cycle over here and cycle it to off, and then now that lifter's gone. So very handy to have these nice painted faces here to help make your life that much easier. And then all you have to do is just redraw the view, and then all those axes and all the painted faces go away. All right, so moving right along to the wall panel, we'll activate the tool, apply it to the wall panel. You'll see in this kind of setting here, I have saved away the dog bone files here. Basically have a 2x4. Double select on the tool. Okay, and inside here we have more of the same, but just to kind of run through some of those, just to kind of see how it applies to different precast elements here. You have the same options here, so you could do front face, back face, top face, anything like that. You can just readily change. Now keep in mind that if you have all of these lifters and you set them to something like this, you know, it's going to cram them all in. So just kind of keep that in mind that you may need to change the quantity or something of them around. So front and back, you have options to change all of these. Keep in mind that you can save away standards here. So, you know, I've got the PCI standard kind of spacing criteria saved away here for my E, F, G, and H. So if you have certain criteria or standards that you would like to save away, different settings, you can just come right up here, type in anything that you'd want, and then just save it away, and then now those are forever saved. Ooh, and real quick, before we move on to the slab, let's take a look real quick on how you can use this to lift in the jambs of the panels as well. So there is a couple of these pre-set up that will come, these pre-saved away settings that will come available out of the box. So if you activate this 1x4 finished end here, we can just apply that and click on our panel, and you can see you can very easily place lifters about the jamb if that's something that your manufacturing facility does. Okay, moving right along to the slab. If we activate our tool and apply it. Now, if you ever apply it and you see these red boxes, that basically is the tool's way of telling you that it's trying to display a lifter that's outside of the piece's geometry here. So if we double select on the tool, we can open it up and take a look and see what's going on. All right, so if you find yourself in the situation where these red boxes or red cubes are kind of showing themselves outside of your part geometry, that's a direct indication that you've got some values here that are not lining up. So basically Tekla's trying to display things that are not possible to display with your current settings. So if I just change some of these to be 0.1 and press modify, now you can see we have those lifters back into the shape. Now right now I have my X and Y direction switched. If I switch this to no and press modify, you can see how it changed the X and Y axes here of the piece to kind of flip it around. So depending on if you want kind of a horizontal distribution or vertical distribution, you can readily change that with the X and Y tabs there as well. All right, let's move on down to the culvert here. So if we load in, I have a culvert pulling iron. I'm going to load in this preset. Press apply, reactivate the tool, and then apply them to the culvert. Now if I just go to a plan view here, you'll notice one of the elements that I kind of skipped over at the beginning was about this, this kind of effect of rotating the inserts here. So a lot of the utility folks, they like to rotate the inserts because of all their rigging and everything to kind of go towards that center of gravity point. So right now you can kind of see, here's that COG cube. Everything is, all these lifters are kind of pointing towards that COG. You can turn that effect on or off. If you just set that to no and press modify, now you can see everything is nice and perpendicular. Or again, you can set that to yes. So a lot of really nice functionality there with some of these tools. And as you can see in this one, I've got these set to distances here. So it's 1 foot 6 and 3 foot versus a certain percentage away, just to kind of show some variance here. And then lastly, if we go to the volt, I'll load in some volt presets. Activate the tool and apply. So first things first, you see that I had a preset saved away as finished end. So clearly this is not going to work. This should be something like front or top. So those red boxes are letting me know that, hey, something is wrong. So if I change that to front, reactivate my tool, press modify, you can see that now those lifting inserts are placed on there. So very nice and easy to cycle front, back, how about on the back side, and then you can go top, and then below. So just like that, you can redraw the view to kind of clean up your workspace there. But that's basically the lifting inserts tool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much.